Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has announced a new police task force to tackle violent disorder, which includes the wider use of facial recognition technology and criminal behaviour orders.
Yeah, the announcement was made after unrest in cities across the UK following misinformation spread about the Southport attack, during which 3 girls were killed. Now, joining us now is Home Office Minister Lord Hanson. Yeah, Lord Hanson, I'm sure you'd want to be sitting here focusing on the victim, 3 little girls who were murdered. Instead, you're sitting here talking about what's been described by, well, everybody involved correctly as thugs who have shown up here. Right? You've seen what Sir Keir Starmer, you've heard what he's proposing, to have a joined-up police unit, keeping it simple. Do you think that that's enough?
Well, good morning, Rob. I mean, my first thoughts are still with the families of those 3 girls that were killed, the girls that were injured, and also the police officers and emergency service workers that were injured in the subsequent riots that took place. It's really important that we focus on Southport. The community there has been very strong. All the political parties in Southport have been together. The local MP, Patrick Hurley, has been very supportive, and we want to make sure we wrap our arms around that community in a positive way. But at the same time, as you mentioned, Rob, there was some serious disorder that was taking place. And what the Prime Minister announced yesterday, having met with police chiefs in Downing Street, was better coordination and better support to both prevent the type of activity by looking at intelligence-led policing, by looking at tracking people who may be travelling to cause trouble and could cause conspiracy, but also, and this is a really strong signal to send, facial recognition, photo evidence, and also the criminal behaviour orders, because peaceful protest is one thing, but actually this was not peaceful protest. This was criminal activity to damage to people, damage to communities, damage to buildings, and damage to emergency workers, and that has to be tackled head on.
Yeah, that's using modern, let's say, investigative techniques. Although I have to say, back in my time as a barrister, they had all of that to stop football hooligans. There's nothing new about that. What is new is the presence. Just wait, if you don't mind, Lord Hanson. Social media. Right? That has been the underlying cause, if you like, the poison that's brought everybody together because of misinformation. Now, help me understand, and everybody out there understand, what legal powers you have to stop misinformation.
Well, the Secretary of State, Peter Kyle, will be discussing with providers how we can better improve, on a voluntary basis, first of all, the performance on that social media issue. But again, Rob, you will know...
It'll be voluntary. I have to stop you.
Well, you will know, Rob, but we keep all options under control, but there's a discussion to be had with social media providers about where we are currently on misinformation and the use of social media platforms. But you will know, Rob, as well, that under legislation now, conspiracy to organise a riot is an offence, and therefore intelligence-led policing, monitoring individuals that are known to the police forces potentially with these matters, looking at their travel patterns, looking at their communications, is a way in which we can potentially look at how we can prevent this activity. And what we need to do as well, which I'm trying to do today and which the Prime Minister did yesterday, is send a strong signal that if people do actually decide to take this action, they will face the full force of the law. I've undertaken peaceful protests in my time against all sorts of activities. Nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
And for or against, nothing wrong with that now. But actually, you cannot have criminal activity that happened in Southport this week.
But just to interrupt, sorry, but, to go back to Rob's point about the social media companies, their responsibility, the fact that they're allowing this misinformation to be on their platforms, what action will you be taking about that? Because that is what started all of this off.
Yeah, well, whether it's social media or 3 people down the pub, it's criminal activity. And that's the key focus. What we need to do is to step back, review with the social media companies their responsibilities here. That's what my colleagues will be doing in government. But whether it was organised on social media or organised by individuals talking in the street or in the pub, it's criminal activity. Okay. It is criminal activity that needs
It's not
responding.
People organising in a pub. That's where this darkness ferments. So I'm going to have to move you on, because a great deal of what you do is stopping people showing up. In other words, deterrence here, right? Yep. That means that they're going to get sentenced and go to prison, right? When they're convicted in court. Just to be clear, there are no room in any of our prisons. Prisoners are being released early. The Department of Justice budget isn't protected, backlog in courts where it takes sometimes 2 years between charge and somebody having the outcome of their trial, and you don't have powers to stop disinformation. Now, you might have inherited this, but how is that going to stop people from doing violent acts, the type of thuggery that we've seen?
Well, the first key thing, Rob, is that we know and we will make sure, and we have already made sure through my colleague Shabana Mahmood, that there are potentially further prison places coming available. Some difficult decisions have been taken on that, but we will ensure that those people who are caught in acts of criminal activity are charged by the police with the help of the CPS, are put before the courts, and if convicted will face the sentence that the court and the judge determines. That's our core duty of protection, of service to the British people. We will do that. Now, there are issues certainly about social media, there are issues about conspiracy, there are issues about people just getting caught up in activity who are not involved in any particular conspiracy. What people need to know, and the signal we were sent yesterday, is that the police, with the Prime Minister's support, will undertake concerted action.
Can I ask you, what sentences are you talking? Hang on, people care about this at home, right?
Yeah,
they watch this, they want people to go to prison. In the last riots, we were talking about them earlier, people were automatically sent to jail. Is that your message, that you will be, through the Department of Justice, saying if you take part in this thuggery, in this violence, you are going to prison? Well,
Rob, you will understand that it's not my decision to send someone to prison. That's a matter for the judges and for the jury and for the courts on conviction. What it is for our responsibility is to encourage the police to take preventative action through facial recognition, through travel examination and through monitoring individuals we know are engaged. If they are finding themselves in criminal activity, the police will charge them with CPS support, and they will face a court sentence, and that will be undertaken. And if they need to go to prison, they will go to prison.
We're running out of time, but I just want to say, all of this takes time, though, doesn't it? And we know there's already talk about further protests, further violent disorder that's going to happen this weekend. Can you stop that happening? Because there's a lot of talk about measures that will take place, but actually to be able to stop this action that is being planned, how are you going to be able to stop that?
The police have powers now, under intelligence-led policing, to take action, should they wish, against named individuals who are conspiring to undertake activity. That's a matter for them, not for politicians to do that, but they have the powers to do that. And secondly, my message is quite simply this. If you're thinking of doing the type of action that happened in Southport last week, be prepared to face the full force of the law if you are caught in a criminal activity. That is what we're sending the message out clearly today. It is not acceptable to undertake violent criminal protest.
OK, we have to leave it there, but Home Office Minister Lord Hanson, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.